All right, this is a more of a test than anything else. Going to play around with YouTube Live here with my 3 subscribers, but we're going to test this thing out and see how it works. So, kind of my strategy in dealing with YouTube is I'm going to use the YouTube channel to be a little more raw, I guess. I'm no CT Fletcher or anything like that, but at the same time, I'm no saint. So I'm going to use YouTube mostly, to talk about fitness and nutrition and my take on it. But being myself without having to be super duper ultra professional. I do have a business where I need to be professional in most instances, but a lot of the people that I'm in contact with professionally won't care enough to come to this channel. And although I'm not going to say anything that would contradict or go against anything that I do on a day-to-day basis, this is just more so that again I can be myself. I can talk about the things I want to talk about and do it in a way that I want to do it without having to worry if something I say is gonna impact my business one way or the other. Um, so yeah, so we're going to get right into it. So the subject of today's video, I ask a question, and that question is, are you busting your ass with no results? Um, you know, we can talk a ton about diet and exercise and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Um, but I want to come kind of from the angle of I want to talk to the person or people who are going to the gym every week. They're going 3, 4, 5 times a week. That's a combination of taking classes and doing cardio, taking classes and seeing a trainer, um, or any kind of combination of that. And yet they're not seeing the results they're looking for. Obviously, in the beginning, when they first started doing this, the body fat dropped a little bit, weight went down, clothes fit a little better. Um, but then at some point, that all slowed down. And the reason why that all slowed down is because adaptation. The body is going to adapt um, to anything that you put it through. And the best example I can give of that, or I shouldn't say the best, but the one I like to use the most is the example of, for those of you, those of us that have ever had a manual labor job, whether it was waiting tables, unloading trucks, factory work, whatever. And if you remember, the first couple weeks doing that stuff, you were sore. Your feet hurt, your back hurt, whatever it was. But then after a couple of weeks, um, you didn't notice that anymore. And the reason why is because your body adapted. Your body adapted to either being on its feet all the time or bending down and picking things up, unloading trucks, whatever the case may be. So, in a situation like that, that adaptation is very good and is desired. Now, I want you to think back to the time when you first started exercising. What happened? You were sore and you quote unquote had muscles that you didn't know you had, or found muscles that you didn't know you had, that kind of thing. And your instructor, whether it was a class instructor or your trainer, warned you about that and then told you that, of course, after a couple weeks, that you would not be as sore. And then what happened after that is you notice that you're not sore anymore and that you can recover quicker. And there's two sides of that to that coin. One is your recovery could be better, or two is the body has adapted. Now, I would submit to you that after about 6 or 8 weeks, um, if you're not feeling sore at all, then the suspicion, as long as you're eating right and eating enough protein, my suspicion is that your body has adapted. So, what do you do? What's the answer? So, for those of you that are trying to lose weight, you have to make sure that you are eating properly. You have to make sure you're getting in plenty of protein, and you have to make sure that you're not getting too much of a fuel source. So, what's a fuel source? Carbs and fat are both a fuel source. Some people can burn fat really well, and some people can burn carbs really well. Very rarely are you going to find somebody that's good at burning both. Now, without having to go into a whole lot of detail in this video, the idea is uh, your heart rate determines what you're burning for fuel. The body's like a hybrid vehicle. So when your heart rate is below a certain level, you're in what we call fat burning zone. When you're above a certain level, you're in what we call glycogen burning or carb burning zone. So the idea is to figure out where you're at and then operate in that heart rate range if your goal is to lose weight. So knowing that, you have to plan your meals around that. Now, if you are trying to lose weight, you got to figure out if you're carb burning or fat burning. The only way to do that is to reduce fat in your diet for a period of time, a couple 3 weeks, see what happens, and then reduce carbs in your diet a couple weeks to see what happens. Now, remember though, think of a seesaw. If carbs are high, fat has to be low, and vice versa. Okay, this is the only way that you're going to figure out what's going on and then track your results. And whichever method you're getting the best results from, meaning your body fat's coming down and all that, then you're probably on the right track. You still would need to tweak at some point, but at least you're on the right track. For those of you that are trying to put on size, there's a couple of things that go into that. But number one is, are you getting enough food in? Again, protein is key. Everybody should be getting more protein. I don't care if you're trying to lose weight, gain muscle, run a race, whatever you're doing. Most people don't get enough protein in. And I'm going to go into detail about that in another video. But you want to make sure A, you're getting enough protein in. And B, if you're lifting heavy enough, you got to remember you have to give the muscle a reason to grow. It's not going to just grow because you will it to. You have to give it a reason to. So it kind of falls back to that adaptation that we talked about when it comes to doing something new. Well, if you want to increase the size of your pecs, you have to give them a reason to grow. And if you can go in the gym and you're doing 3 or 4 sets of, 100 reps of something, the muscle endurance is going to increase, but the muscle size won't increase. So you really got to hit it hard and start off with a very heavy workout regimen, compound weights, bench presses, dumbbell pressing, some kind of a pressing move to kind of fire up that muscle. And then after you've done that for about 6 weeks, then you can switch it up and go into what we call hypertrophy or muscle building mode, where the weights would come down, not light. This is a big mistake that a lot of people make. They feel like, oh, I'm going to cut, so I need to lift light. And no, at no time do you want to lift light. You just don't want to lift as heavy as you had been. So you want to lift as heavy as you can in good form at the higher rep range. Because you still want to give, now you're trying to give the a muscle a reason to grow in size. You got the strength part down. Now you're going into muscle building phase. So it's very important that you guys understand how food works and what the purpose of everything that you put in your mouth is for. Because as a society, we've gotten away from eating for a reason, eating certain things for a reason. If you look at how your grandmother cooked, your great grandmother, they didn't just willy nilly make some. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's times for cookies and pies and all that, but when grandma made soup or when she made a meal, it had things in it that were in there on purpose because it either had anti-inflammatory properties, plenty of protein, a lot of fiber, whatever the case is, depending on what type of food and ethnic background that you come from. But over the years, and as things change, it's all about taste now. Oh, I don't want to eat this because I don't like the way it tastes, or I'm going to eat something else that I really shouldn't have because I like the way it tastes. And you're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs. And it's important that you understand what that means. You hear these catchphrases, nutrients and vitamins and minerals, and the body needs this and the body processes that, but people still really don't get what that means. And you have to remember that when you eat something, all of our cells have, for lack of a better term, switches inside of them, light switches. Think of it as that. So when you eat a certain food and it's absorbed by the cells, the light switch flips on or off, depending on what the purpose is and what's going on. But when you're not eating the right nutrients, you're not getting the right amounts of your vitamins and minerals, the light switches get all wonky. And this shows itself in a bunch of different ways. If you eat something and you notice that you get some kind of an inflammation response, you get a runny nose, you get stuffy, you may have gas, you may get constipated, and people will say, "Man, yeah, that happens to me." And my mom's the same way, or my dad's the same way. So you think that it's okay, but it's not okay. There's something going on, and you need to pay attention to that. Um, and eliminate whatever that is that's causing it, because that's not supposed to happen. So when we're eating the proper foods, the light switches that are supposed to get flipped on go on, the ones that are supposed to get flipped off go off, and the body works like it's supposed to. Food is absorbed like it's supposed to. You have energy, you're able to sleep, you're not dealing with things like eczema and constipation and all these other things that go on. So it's important that you guys take some time and listen to your body. And if something's going on when you eat, you need to find out why. Why is it? Why do I get, if I eat a certain thing, do I get constipated? Or if I eat something else, it causes gas. Because everybody's so quick to just go and take a Tums or take something to get things moving again, which is fine. I mean, you need not to be stopped up, but you need to figure out why that's happening. One thing for me personally that I finally figured out over the last couple of years is dairy. And me and dairy don't get along. Now, having said that, I can have a little bit of dairy and be okay. I can have like a little chocolate milk if I have that, or white milk, but that's very rare. I grew up drinking milk like everybody else did, right? But when I first started competing and I eliminated dairy from my diet, and I love cheese. I love all kinds of cheese. Havarti cheese, cheddar cheese, blue cheese, you name it. I love cheese. But when I got ready for my first bodybuilding competition and I removed dairy from my diet, after the show was over and I started to reintroduce dairy, man, it tore me up. My stomach was jacked up. I had gas, and it was a mess. And that that situation told me something. It said, "Hey, your body doesn't process dairy very well." Um, and so what I learned from that is that I just can't have dairy like I used to. So then fast forward now, when I'm saying dairy in the instance where I was talking about post show, I'm talking about having milk, of course, some cheese and stuff. Now, fast forward to now, because this is about 10 years ago, fast forward to now, I can't eat cheese like I used to. I mean, I bought a block of Colby Jack or something like that, and I'm the kind of guy. I mean, I'll eat it shredded on eggs, or on tacos or whatever. Or sometimes I'll just cut a slice and just eat it. But a couple months ago, I did that, and it just completely stopped me up. So yeah, I could take Miralax and I could take all this stuff to get things moving again. But here's the thing: if my body doesn't process it and my body doesn't like it, a couple of things are going on. Number one, I'm not going to get whatever nutrients is in the cheese because my body doesn't want any part of it, and I'm not going to be able to eliminate and get waste out of my body, which that's a whole nother deal. If you're holding waste in your gut, in your intestines, that creates a whole nother set of problems. So instead of me forcing myself to eat cheese, and not forcing myself to eat it because I like it, but by eating the cheese, forcing my body to do things or not do things, is just, it's insane to me. So I'm not going to eat cheese. I mean, I may sprinkle a little bit here and there, but I have a bag of cheese in my freezer right now that's frozen, and I don't know when I'm gonna pull it out. And when I do, it's probably gonna go bad before I can even finish the bag, because my body just doesn't like dairy anymore. Um, and what you'll find out is that there are, um, a lot of people, a lot of adults that can't tolerate dairy, and we all grew up on it. But we're the only species that drinks the milk and has milk products from another animal, from a different species. And that can be debated, however you want to debate that. But there's a reason why more and more people are becoming lactose intolerant. So for me, I'd rather just not deal with it. So I just eliminate it from my diet for the most part. Again, I'll have a little milk here and there, but I've switched over to almond milk, and I don't have any issues with that. So, anyways, I got kind of off on a tangent, but you need to really listen to your body and don't just accept that what's going on is just the way it's supposed to be, because it's not. Don't be so quick to run to the doctor. I mean, obviously, if you need to, but don't be so quick to find a remedy at the drugstore or with the doctor. Find out what's going on with your body and just simply remove something. If you eat something that doesn't agree with you, you need to find out why and then eliminate it and maybe look for an alternative. Um, Again, as a society, we want instant gratification. We want everything right now, and we don't slow down to take the time to figure out what's going on. So just remember, guys, that if you're busting your ass in the gym or whatever your mode of working out is, whether it's at a gym or outside or doing whatever, and you find that you are not losing weight, you got to start with the food. Everything begins and ends with the food. Unless you're a professional athlete that is working out, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day, you are not gonna be able to um, undo the damage that you're doing from eating regular food, from eating junk food. The other thing is sometimes I'll sit in a consultation with somebody who's overweight, very obviously overweight, and they'll tell me, I eat pretty healthy. And I tell them, no, you don't. Because if you were eating healthy, you wouldn't be overweight. Now, having said that, maybe they used to eat really bad and started to clean up, but they're still not eating healthy, because if they're eating healthy, the body fat would be coming down. And so they're by eating healthy, and of course, this is subjective. Everybody's definition of eating healthy is different. But I got to question what exactly it is they're eating, and I do, because after they tell me how healthy they are, I ask them to detail out for me what it is they're eating and how much, because sometimes somebody might be on the right track, but they're just not eating enough food, which is more common with women than with men. 90% of the women that sit in front of me who are unhappy with their bodies, who may or may not be really obese, but feel that they need to lose body fat, um, 9 out of 10 of them are under eating, because at some point they got on the scale, they saw a number they didn't like, and they cut back the food, which initially caused some weight drop. But as I've talked about before, what happens over time, is you down regulate your metabolism, and that's a whole different ball game. And when it comes to the metabolism and starting it back up, there's no rocket science to that. It's very easy to fix, and the way you fix that is you start eating again. But you got to eat healthy. And so what I tell people is that I'm just going to jam a bunch of food in you, for lack of a better way of saying it. And initially there's some apprehension, um, but if the person eats like I'm telling them to eat, the body starts to um, feel that it's getting enough nutrients, enough calories. And then, yeah, initially there'll be a little bit of weight gain, because water comes with food. When you eat more food, you hold more water. But then what should happen is that weight should start to come down at a nice steady pace. It won't be completely perfect, drop week over week, but it should be trending down. And when I say weight, I'm just referring specifically to the body fat. Um, so the clients that follow the plan and trust me, the body fat comes down, the weight comes down, they're wearing smaller clothes, they're happier. The clients that don't follow the plan, that feel like, they're smarter than I am about this, they're the ones that will continue to struggle. So take a look at how you're eating, what you're eating, and uh, go from there. Get the food squared away, get your food in check. Once you do that, you should start to see some more progress. All right, everybody. There's nobody watching this, and that's okay because this will live on my channel, and so maybe people will check it out at another time. But like I said, I just wanted to kind of experiment with the live stream from YouTube. And at some point, if you do run across this and you feel like there was some value in it, give me a thumbs up and please share. All right, everybody, this is Big Cobb Diesel coming at you, and I will talk to you again soon.